So today is an auspicious day, being the holy occasion of Falaharini Kali Puja. It's the day when Sri Ramakrishna worshipped Sharda Devi as the Shorashi. So in Belur every year, tonight, they will be celebrating, they will be just having the worship of Mother Kali in the form of Shorashi. It goes on almost throughout the night. So now today, as it's a Thursday, as we are supposed to have our Yoga Sutra class, before we start our class, we will just chant the Amba Stotram just to commemorate the occasion, and then we will start our class. Katvam shubhe shivakare sukha dukha haste आघूर्णितं भवजलं प्रवलोर्मिभङ्गैः शान्तिं विधातुमिह किं बहुधा विभग्नाम् मातप्रयत्नपरमा सदैव विश्वे मातप्रयत्नपरमासि सदैव विश्वे सम्पादयन्त्यविरतं त्वविरामवृत्त्या या वै स्थिता कृतफलम् त्वकृतस्य नेत्री सा मे भवत्वनुदिनं वरदा भवानी जानाम्यहं ध्रुवमियं धृतकर्मपाशा जानाम्यहं ध्रुवमियं धृतकर्मपाशा किं वा कृतं किमकृतं क्व कपाललेख किं कर्म वा फलमिहास्ति यां विना भो इच्छागुणैर्नियमिता नियमा स्वतन्त्रैः यस्या सदा भवतु सा शरणं ममाद्या यस्या सदा भवतु सा शरणं ममाद्या सन्तानयन्ति जलधिं जनिमृत्युजालं सम्भावयन्त्यविकृतं विकृतं विभगनम् यस्या विभूतय इह मितशक्तिपाल नाश्रित्य तां वदकुत शरणं व्रजाम नाश्रित्य तां वदकुत शरणं व्रजाम मित्रे रिपौ त्वविषमं तव पद्मनेत्रं स्वस्थे सुखे त्ववितथस्तव हस्तपात छायामृतेस्तव दया त्वमृतं च मात मुञ्चन्तु मां न परमे शुभदृष्टयस्ते मुञ्चन्तु मां न परमे शुभदृष्टयस्ते क्वाम्बा शिवा क्व गृणनं मम हीनबुद्धे दोभ्याविधर्तुमिव यामि जगद्विधात्रीम् चिन्त्यं श्रियासुचरणं त्वभयप्रतिष्ठम् सेवापरैरभिनुतं शरणं प्रपद्ये सेवापरैरभिनुतं शरणं प्रपद्ये यामाचिराय विनय त्यतिदुःखमार्गै आसीद्धितस्वकलितैर्ललितैर्विलासै या मे मतिं सुविदधे सततं धरण्याम् साम्बा शिवा मम गति सफले फले वा साम्बा शिवा मम गति सफले फले वा साम्बा शिवा मम गति सफले फले वा. So now we will continue with the study of the Patanjali Yoga Sutra. So in the last class, we completed the study of the 8th sutra of the first chapter. So today we will start our discussion with the 9th sutra of the first chapter, which deals with the third type of vritti, the third type of mental modification, which is termed as vikalpa. Now, vikalpa literally means substitute, but here it has been used to mean verbal delusion. Now, how can the verbal delusion be something which means substitute? So, as we go through the study of this sutra, we will try to understand that how the literal meaning of the word actually indicates verbal delusion. So, we will just share the screen for having the discussion on this sutra. So, the sutra, the 9th sutra of the first chapter is Shabda Jnana Anupati Vastu Shunya Vikalpa. So it is the definition of Vikalpa. What is the definition? Shabda Jnana Anupati Vastu Shunya. So now each and every word, again, if we know the meaning, then the idea becomes very clear. Shabda Jnana Anupati. So when I speak some word, Shabda Jnana, the knowledge of that word immediately dawns in my mind. What is the meaning of the word Shabda Jnana? The knowledge which dawns from the word spoken. Anupati, corresponding to that word. Corresponding to that word, if there is no vastu, vastu shunya, if there is no such object in reality in the world, then such type of mental modification. When I speak out a word, I imagine something, but that imagination as such have no reality, have no reality in this world, perceptible reality. So that is called as vikalpa. Just to give an example, when I say shashasringa in Sanskrit, means a horned rabbit. The moment I speak that word, the horned rabbit, immediately you can visualize with your imagination, with the faculty of your imagination, immediately you can visualize a rabbit with horns. But in reality, there are no such rabbits with horns. So when I speak out something, the imagination speaks of the mental modification, which as such has no reality. So that is vikalpa. So as we told that here, before dealing with the vrittis, with the mental modifications, we have to know their nature. So we have already studied pratyaksha, we have already studied in the last class, we have studied our pratyaksha, followed by this the next there's the delusion that is sorry, viparyaya. The viparyaya we studied in the previous class, and today we are going to have a discussion on this vikalpa, the verbal delusion. So now it has a great importance in the human civilization. We may think that this type of mental modification, just for the sake of definition, it has been defined as such, it has no role to play in our life. Actually, as a human being, we have excelled because of this particular type of mental modification. You know, it is not possible in any of the creation, in any of the creatures, to have this wonderful faculty of abstract imagination. To give a very common example, that the human child is, as a small child, what to speak of an adult child? An adult, just a small child, you will find is far evolved than any other creature because of this faculty. To give an example, your child is growing up and its entire world is the backyard of your house. The child likes to spend the time there, and you sometimes are curious what the child is doing. So now and then you go and just have a look that what the child is doing, just to have a watch on the child. And you find that the child on the backyard is playing just alone he's playing with himself. The moment you go, the small child, this example, it is a very common example, goes, and the moment you go, the child picks up a stick and shows it to you. And you speak to the child, "Oh, it's a nice stick you have, oh young fella." The child immediately, with a lot of full enthusiasm, replies earnestly, "That's not a stick, that's a sword, hands up." You raise your hands and laugh, the child laughs too. So here, this vikalpa has happened. That stick is not the sword. But as a human being, the child already is evolved to think that stick to be something sword. It is not the sword. To imagine the sword, when it sings, just beware, hands up, I'm having a sword in my hand. It's total vikalpa. But you may think it is childish. It's not childish. It's a wonderful faculty. Why? It may appear to be a mere childish act, but we don't realize that the child has just displayed a unique thinking ability a human possesses. The ability to use symbolic reasoning. It describes our ability to attribute characteristics and meanings to things that don't possess them. As a result, what has happened? You're attributing certain characteristics to a thing which it doesn't possess. You're just imagining. And you may say it's something childish. No. What's the wonderful thing has happened? The entire evolution has happened because of this. How? Now, stated informally, we can make up things that aren't there. We are so adept in this that we can combine symbols to derive layers of meanings. Our language is the best example of vikalpa. So now you will understand why verbal delusion has been termed as vikalpa, substitute. So now suppose I say red rose. You're all sitting at your home, at your house. The moment you hear the word red rose, most probably there is no red rose near you. But just by listening to the word red rose, immediately you can imagine what that red rose is. In the mind, that imagination comes. And now you will find what has happened. The red rose is not there. As a substitute, I have created this language to give you that imagination, and the knowledge of the red rose dawns in without the presence of the red rose. The entire language is actually, that's why vikalpa is substitute. So now you will understand how these words are so wonderfully coined. When I am saying vikalpa, it actually literally means substitute. Then why the verbal delusion has been termed as vikalpa? Because the entire language is actually nothing but the substitute. There's so many things that we are reasoning mathematically. All the mathematical reasoning, the equations, is actually something which is not visible. You are just deriving some laws. We are proving some laws with the help of equations. It's something not visible. But with the help of all those equations, you are substituting. You're substituting the fact with these equations. And though the fact is not visible, you have to imagine, but the knowledge is possible because of that reasoning. So the entire human language, the writing, that what we write, that is also, there's all the scripts, all the writings, that is also vikalpa. The moment I write something, I'm reading a book, immediately the things which I'm reading may not be something palpably visible in my front, but immediately I can imagine. The abstract knowledge is possible because of that imagination. That's a wonderful thing. As a human being, it has enabled us to retain the knowledge. And it has enabled us not just to merely, this important human trait helped us not merely to survive, but to thrive. All the entire creation somehow survives by struggling with the nature. We thrive. To give a common example, how we thrive. You take the example of a chimpanzee. A chimpanzee is just passing through the forest, and it never understands that there's a sand pit there just in its way. It falls on the sand pit, and it proves to be fatal. Now, the chimpanzee's children, they also follow the same way. They just again walk on the sand pit, that also causes their death. The grandchildren does the same thing. But as a human being, how the language that vikalpa has helped us, our evolutionary ancestors didn't have to keep falling in the same quicksand pit if they could tell others about it. See how the language is helping us. Someone has fallen in the sand pit, now comes back, somehow managed to save himself, comes back. He has the language. We all need not have to go through the same experience. And that's how we thrive. What to speak of just speaking out? Even a better way is we keep some warning sign there. That if anyone come there unaware, immediately that warning sign helps him to understand I shouldn't move forward. So not only just by telling others, even better if they learn to put warning signs. See how the language, how the script, they are all vikalpas. With words, with language, we could extract a great deal of knowledge about our living situation without always having to experience its harsh lessons directly. So now you will understand that how we have become smart enough because of this faculty of vikalpa, through the help of this language, through the help of the scripts, to really evolve in a way which has actually enabled us to have a huge jump in the evolutionary process. So there's an English proverb: fools learn through experience, wise learn through precepts. So all the precepts are nothing but vikalpas. So otherwise these precepts are possible. The scriptural knowledge coming as shabda, the agama is shabda, all the knowledge. Before I really experience the knowledge in the school, the scientists for hundreds of years, whatever they have discovered, is there in the form of language, is in there in the form of written words, in the form of equations, mathematical notations. When I'm starting my studies as a small child, it is all vikalpa, it is all those notations. Maybe I will be experiencing them while I am having my practicals in the laboratory much later, or I have sufficient knowledge to really realize what it implies. But I start with that vikalpa. Those words give me some idea, and gradually as I evolve, I then realize the real truth of it. But it starts with the vikalpas. So all the precepts in the form of language, in the form of writing, are nothing but vikalpas, the substitute. So now you will understand what a great role this particular type of mental modulation, vritti, has to play in the human evolution. So there are two ways to beat the cruelty of the harsh environment. Life is nothing but the struggle, which the struggle, in the words of Swamiji, is internal as well as external. Constantly we have to struggle with the nature to survive. And that's the entire creation is nothing but struggling with the nature to cope up with it. Now, very interesting, the entire process of evolution was happening how? Not by becoming stronger, but we are the one who deviated, who just changed the track. As a human being, we never tried to be stronger. There are other animals much more stronger than us. It is the vikalpa which helped us to become smarter, not stronger. So you may become stronger or you may become smarter. We did the latter. It seems most probable that such a physically weak species could take over the planet, not by adding muscles to our skeletons, but by adding neurons to our brains. That gives us a faculty of imagination, fantasizing. This fantasizing is a great faculty to have this sense of awe, to imagine something bigger than life, greater than life. It is something, a wonderful faculty we as a human have evolved. And that has happened by adding neurons to the brains, not muscles to the skeletons. That's how we came bit out of the track. We evolved, came out of the box to evolve in a bit different way. And there you will find Vikalpa has a great role to play. Now it seems it's a very good thing. Thus, apparently it seems Vikalpa is a vritti which has helped us to alleviate suffering. It has helped us not just to survive, it has helped us to thrive. Now the question comes, then why Yoga Sutra says that it can also be klishta? As we told, all the vrittis can be afflictive as well as non-afflictive. Now the question comes, how can that such a wonderful mental modulation, which speaks of our evolution, can be considered to be having some aspect which is afflictive, klishta. Now, wonderful thing, each and everything in this world, there is nothing which is absolutely good or absolutely evil. Goodness and wickedness depends on how we use it or abuse it. Now, this vikalpa has been the cause of all the great calamities in the world. Apparently, it has caused our evolution. That's true. But again, it is the cause of all the calamities. How? Vikalpa, when abused, when we are not using, the fire can cook our food, and again, it can burn us. How we use it, the fire itself is neither good nor bad. The vikalpa, which has proven to be such a wonderful tool, not tool of knowledge, and which has enabled us to have a evolutionary leap, can be abused. And that really is the cause of all the kleshas. Vikalpa, when abused, finds expression as false agenda. You will find it's a very common thing that whenever the one who are supposed to do good to the world, there's sometimes they will be just that uh, uh, professing something which they don't mean, false agenda. You will be imagining, by hearing that wonderful speech of some leader, you will be imagining some wonderful future is waiting for me. But most probably, most of the time we find it was an imagination which never has the reality. False agenda. All the world wars till now, you will find, you just search the internet. Behind that, it's not the weapons which was the main, what you say that, this weapons of destructions were not the real cause of evil. It was the propaganda. Knowing very well that it is not true, the common masses were deluded by propagandas, conspiracy theories, false accusations. All this you will find actually is nothing but vikalpa. So we can abuse them. And in this world, what greater calamities has happened, has happened greater than this vikalpa. It is vikalpa is actually behind all the calamities which has resulted in political and religious intolerance. Knowingly, you will find in religion, the so-called common mass is sometimes confused by the religious leaders' hate speech, which actually has no basis. You'll find internet is full of that. In politics, it's happening. Everywhere you will find this vikalpa has been abused. Extensive wars, mass destruction in the human society repeatedly has happened because of the abuse of vikalpa. So now you will understand this vikalpa is really very powerful. It can really be this klishta, afflictive, if it is not used properly, if it is abused. So now the question is how this vikalpa be aklishta or non-afflictive. As we told, that each of these vrittis can be either klishta or aklishta. So now the question is, how can vikalpa be aklishta? Of course, the process of evolution which we spoke of has happened because of vikalpa, and that, of course, is to a great extent the non-afflictive factor of vikalpa. But in spiritual life, here, all the vrittis actually help us to evolve spiritually, not only material prosperity. With the language, with our scripts, we of course had abhyudaya, material prosperity. But how can we have spiritual evolution? So now, to understand that, we will take the following example. One example we will take to understand how vikalpa can help us spiritually. So first, forget about the spirituality, just take a common example. Now, there are so many types of vikalpa. When I am saying that shashasringa, that is a type of vikalpa. Another vikalpa which is very common in our life, suppose I have experienced something and I speak about it to a person who have not experienced the same thing. Till that person experiences, that when I speak to that person, till that person experiences, whatever he has in his mind is actually vikalpa. Just imagine, Even in your childhood, when someone spoke to you about the ocean, most probably you stay in the inlands, you have never seen the ocean. And someone came and just was relating his experience. Oh, such a vast expanse, you cannot see the horizon, where the water is ending and the land starts, nothing can be seen. All those experiences he relates, and in our mind we conjure up some idea. And it's a common experience for all of us. For the first time when we saw the ocean, we found that idea has nothing to do with the reality. We can never imagine when anyone spoke to us about the mountain, about any scenic beauty which I haven't experienced. So now let us take an example to understand it more specifically. Now, a person who have tasted mango speaks about its taste to a group of people who have not tasted mango. Now, at the beginning, those who have not tasted the mango, the idea of the mango conjured up by all who have not tasted it are vikalpas. All of them are the vikalpas. I hear the word that, oh, someone comes and say, oh, mango, I have tasted it. It's a wonderful fruit. It is so sweet. It has a wonderful flavor. Now, as sweetness, flavor, all these are the words which have some common meaning. So many of the people, most of the people, those who hear, they have not tasted the mango, they may think, oh, I have an idea. But all those ideas are vikalpas. Till they really taste the mango, those ideas are vikalpas. They really have no reality. Because they will, the moment they taste the mango, immediately they will realize what they were imagining has nothing to do with reality. So those words actually helped him to conjure up some idea, but that idea has no, what you say, corresponding reality. So that's why they're all vikalpas till you taste the mango. Now there can be three situations that after hearing about the taste of the mango, now what can happen? There are three situations. Now, hearing about the taste of mango, there can be three types of reactions. Some may remain indifferent about mango. They hear it, they forget about it. They have no inclination ever to taste it. There's one group. Another, some may go on discussing its taste. Instead of really tasting, they think that we have understood, and now they go on discussing. And there you create all the problem. How? Someone just relates those words with his available fund of experience, and he or she starts thinking that the mango is sweet like molasses and it has something flavor like rose. That's one of the idea. Another person thinks, no, it is sweet like honey and it has some smell like jasmine. Now see, already there is a difference of opinion. When they discuss, immediately it results in argument. And that results in fight. Now we will understand why there is so much fight in the name of religion. Because none are interested in really testing the mango. We think that we have understood by hearing the words of the scripture, we have understood what it intends to say, and all those opinions which we develop are all vikalpas, and they are varied, and we start fighting with each other. All the cause of disharmony and dissension in the name of religion can happen if we are satisfied just by the belief in the doctrines and dogmas. There's a very interesting, funny story that God incarnated as an avatar, and he was speaking out the truth. And there was a huge gathering around him. And so, in the Abrahamic religions, there's the concept of Satan. So the votaries of Satan, they saw that God has incarnated and he's speaking out the truth, and he's a huge gathering around him. So now they're really scared. The Satan's kingdom is gone. So all the votaries of Satan runs to Satan to give that bad news that God has incarnated and he's spelling out the truth. All the ignorance will vanish. People will be illumined. Satan's reign will be over. When the votaries went and gave the news, Satan was totally unperturbed. He was still sitting there relaxed. And then the votaries asked, don't you feel disturbed by hearing this news? He told, you're all fools, he replied. Just go and have an intent look. That a huge crowd which you have seen, go and just have an intent look. Who are those people who are surrounding the incarnation to hear his words of truth? Go and have a look. So the votaries now went and had an intent look, and they found they were all the votaries of Satan who were just surrounding around the divine incarnation and hearing the truth. So Satan knows very well, once they hear and they start preaching, the Satan's work will be done. Now, one will be saying that mango is sweet like molasses and it has a smell of rose, and another will be saying, no, it has a sweetness of honey and it smells like jasmine. And now there will be fight, dissension, disharmony, and his work will be done. So that's the thing which happens when you just go on discussing the taste of the mango without trying to really taste it. So one was not interested, the one was just satisfied by discussing, and some may get motivated by hearing that to taste the mango. But for them, once they taste it, the vikalpa immediately melts off. Now they have the realized. They're the ones in all the religion, you will find the mystics, those who were not satisfied by just the mere words of the scriptures. They dive deep through the spiritual practices. They went to the realization. If you really want to find out the basis of equality in all the religion, you have to listen to the word of the mystics. They all speak alike. You know, in Abrahamic religions, the idea of the unity, that I am one with the ultimate existence, is something very blasphemous. And for that, in Christianity, in Islam, we will find the mystics were persecuted. But much later, centuries later, it was realized that actually they were great souls. And that's why Ramakrishna speaks a very interesting thing. He says, if you want to find the unity in all the religions, go to the mystics. They all speak alike. In his words, Shekhane shop shealer akra. Once you go to that realization, you will find all the fox howls in the same manner. One fox howls in the forest, immediately all the fox starts howling. So that's what he is just indicating, that by saying that shop shealer akra, that all the mystics. So when you go to the realization, then no, the vikalpa falls off. Vikalpa falls off. You are now established in realization. So in spiritual life, how can the vikalpa become aklishta? So now the same way, in spiritual sense also, the same is true about agama or scriptures. After hearing the truth which has been spoken of in the scriptures, a majority of the people are quite happy with the material life, with all the pleasures which the world gives, and they're totally indifferent to all the spiritual truth which has been spoken. That's one group. The second group is the indifferent group is also in no way dangerous. They don't realize, they don't have any inclination for the spiritual life. They are busy with their own material engagements. They're as such not the cause of affliction. The real cause of affliction is the second. Some are satisfied in discussion. All the doctrines, dogmas, is the cause of the dissension, the fight. You'll find throughout the religious history that has happened. It is all these doctrines and dogmas. It is our mere beliefs that is the cause of all the fight. And there are some who are motivated for the experiential knowledge. Those who are motivated for this experiential knowledge, for them, vikalpa proves to be aklishta. Those who are not just satisfied with the belief, mere belief, they really dive deep into the scriptures and internalize the words through the practice, through sadhana, to go to the realization. For them, vikalpa proves to be aklishta. So now you will understand that how vikalpa can both be klishta and aklishta. So now, as a conclusion, though it's not a conclusion, we will have this discussion, some other discussion on this topic, which has to do something with today's special celebration, the Falaharini Kali Puja. So I will just bring that occasion to fit in with this, how vikalpa fits in with this celebration, how it helps us. Vikalpa helps to evolve spiritually. That also we will try to throw some light on it. So now, first of all, we will find a very interesting thing. It is mentioned in the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. One day Narendranath came and was started criticizing about certain faiths. There are so many, sects, even within the same religion. So Naren was criticizing certain sects for their crude form of practices and beliefs. He used the word that their faith is blind faith. Hearing that word, Ramakrishna started laughing. Narendranath never realized why Ramakrishna is laughing. What's so funny about it? So Naren asked that what makes you laugh hearing that word, that such and such faith is a blind faith? Am I wrong? Isn't it correct? Ramakrishna's response was wonderful. He asked Naren in another question. He counter-questioned him. That counter-question is something really very significant. He asked Naren, well, Naren, tell me, which faith has eyes? Faith means belief. Which faith has eyes? You are saying that faith is a blind faith. That word itself is having no meaning. Faith, all the faiths are blind. It's not that particular faith. You may think that you believe in Advaita, it is something better than other faith, or someone may think Vishishta Advaita. All are faiths. Have we realized it? So they're all blind. There's blind faith is something which has no meaning. Faith means belief. It has no eyes. But they all are important because they can take us to the realization. Now, how can you say that the faith which is blind, which is vikalpa, can take us to the realization? Of course, by developing a motivation that we spoke of, that motivation, instead of just remaining satisfied with the discussion, one who are motivated. So now I will just stop this sharing of the screen, and we will have some discussion on this topic to understand that how this motivation, that motivation for the realization, how it really works out. What's the way that the motivation works? What's the procedure? You know, we as a human being has a wonderful faculty, that vikalpa, which finds expression as awe. You have heard the word in English, that awestruck, A-W-E, awe. It's a wonderful faculty. This awe actually is something which speaks of vikalpa. How? You know that we always want to be beyond our limitations. We can never imagine ourselves to be a limited being. It's impossible. However you may try, it is impossible. Now, sometimes in the name of making our children very rational, that I will not allow my child to resort to all sorts of imageries, imaginations, fantasies. The child should be very rational. So now we find what? That in our scriptures, there's all those uh, myths, mythologies are full of stories which we cannot rationalize. And that's why the general trend present day is we need not give importance to them, to all those things. Those are all outdated. Our children need not even know all those things. Very good. But a very interesting thing happen, you will find in your child's life. When the child is growing up, the child returns from the school, and the first thing you will find, what happens, he immediately, he's rushing, almost is rushing. The child comes, somehow manages to keep the school bag, opens the shoes, runs in front of a screen. Maybe it's a TV screen or computer monitor screen, and immediately starts seeing some cartoon movies. It may be Spider-Man, Batman. Nowadays, there are so many characters. We try to make our child fully rational, but what they're seeing is all imaginary figures. Spider-Man, Batman, all the cartoon movies, nothing speaks of some justified reasoning. All those characters are doing something which is not possible for an ordinary human being to do. They're all imagination. They are not something fact. Why we have the tendency, the small child whom you're trying to make so much rational has such an inherent desire to watch all those things. The child gets almost glued to it, because as a human being, we are something which we can never think of ourselves as a limited being. We always try to think ourselves beyond the limitation. In our scripture, they say, who is a human being? Ya anantaya kalpate, the one who thinks of infinity. The real infinite nature behind us is echoing through our body-mind complex, which is not eternal. But we take the echo to be real. That the real thing is our real nature, which is echoing. That is, of course, something which is beyond all limitation. Now, by seeing the reflection, we take that to be real. There we are making the mistake. So something within is saying that you are beyond all limitation, but we don't find that to be realized in our psychophysical existence. That makes us imagine something which is beyond all limitations. That is the way called Ya Anantaya Kalpate. We can never think ourselves limited. I cannot jump a 20-story building, so the small child is glued to that character and it identifies with that character. You will find the child is always will go to the shop and buy some vest with the triangular S, the Superman marked on it. The child wants to identify with those characters, because there, through those characters, it finds that it can go beyond the limitations. This is the faculty of awe. I always want to identify with something which is much greater than life. All in our day-to-day life, it is happening constantly. This awe faculty is something very important. That I get bored with my day-to-day life, I take leave, and what I do, I go to some scenic place. Maybe it's a mountain, maybe it's the ocean. I stand in front of the tires of the peaks, and that awe faculty immediately overwhelms me. I get lost, my individuality gets lost in that infinite expanse. It's same thing happens when I'm in front of the ocean. What I'm doing, I'm just taking the leave, and taking my leave from my work and going to a place to just lose my sense of individuality in that vastness. This awe faculty is something which as a human being we have. It speaks of fantasy, it speaks of imagination, but unless it is fed properly, it is going to, because as that faculty is there, it has to be nourished properly, or it will find expression in some distorted way. What are the distorted way? Yes, you will find a lot of, in religion it happens. When it is explained in a very distorted way, that be the cause of destruction of human life, and that will be the cause of your going to heaven. That life, some life beyond this life is full of limitations. After this life, you have something where all the limitations are gone. You will be enjoying eternally. It's an awe faculty. As that awe faculty was not fed properly, you will find that in terrorism it happens. It's not only the one who are poor, even the so-called doctors, engineers, all quite highly educated people have resort to this terrorism because the awe faculty was not fed properly. Not only that, it can make us highly sensual. Very interesting. When Swami Vivekananda was in the West, he was speaking on Vedanta, Advaita Vedanta. And then at the end of the lecture, someone stood up and told Swamiji, he was speaking of the consciousness and all, but ultimately you are all these idol worshippers. You worship idols. And Swamiji had a very nice smile in his face. And then he replied, as if mischievously, he was a bit mischievously replied, well, you also are all idol worshippers. The one who questioned, he was a bit surprised. How can I be an idol worshipper? We are not idol worshippers. And what Swamiji replied is something wonderful. He told, why? The one who questioned was a young man. He told, why, oh young man, don't you kneel down in front of a beautiful lady and say, you're angel? Is it not idolatry? So just you will understand what happens here also, that awe faculty finds expression in what way? An ordinary human being of flesh and bones, in that you see angel. Isn't it a vikalpa? The fantasy is making you believe that it is that he or she is an angel. And you find that because of that vikalpa, when they are together, when they start life together, all the clash starts. All those your out of the life imaginations has gone. All the defects of the human being, frailties, they now become palpable, and all the clash starts. So why we are just indicating all these things? This awe is a wonderful faculty which you cannot deny. As a human being, we have. It has to be taken care of in a positive way. There are many ways in the life of Ramakrishna. Just as we told that today's Shoroshi Puja, that he took the image of the Mother Kali, which he was worshipping, as the real. It's not something made of stone. It's a mother, conscious principle is not Mrinmay, is Chinmay. And not only that, all the female forms which I see in the world, actually the mother is manifesting all these varied forms. And as you will find, because with that tremendous awe faculty, the devotion gets linked up with that Ramakrishna is pouring his heart in the worship, and in no time, his total personality is overhauled. He not only sees the Divine Mother in all the women, he also sees it in his wife. When she comes to Dakshineshwar, they start living together. They are testing each other, you will find. One day, Holy Mother was just massaging Sri Ramakrishna's feet. And she casually asked, how do you look upon me? How nicely Ramakrishna is replying. It's not just mere words, it's his realization. What's he saying? The mother who is in the Kali temple, that image, the same mother is the one who has given me birth. And it is the same mother who at present is massaging my feet. What a wonderful realization, that awe faculty. With the awe faculty, he has totally transformed his personality in such a way. He sees the mother, the Divine Mother, everywhere, in all the women. And not only that, even the same thing we find, the Holy Mother is seeing the divinity in Ramakrishna. They both are relating that way. And when they tested each other, And it was found that there is no uh, gap in their words and in their thought. In the words of Ramakrishna, bhaver ghore churi, that sometimes we speak something which we don't mean. When they really, but they were the real spiritual souls, they really testified their word again and again by judging each other. And when Ramakrishna found that the one that who happens to be his wife is a pure soul, on this special day of this Falaharini Kali Puja, which falls today, in this day, Ramakrishna, instead of worshipping the image, invoked the Divine Mother by worshipping his own wife. Just see how the awe faculty, in which, if not taken care of properly, can take us spirally downwards by totally creating infatuation in us through all the sensual pleasures and taking us spirally downwards. It can make us religiously fanatic. But if it can be used properly, instead of taking us spirally downwards, it can take us spirally upwards. And we find that this Shoroshi Puja is something through which Ramakrishna is acknowledging the Divine Mother in all the woman. And he opened up a new way. It was there, but people actually were not aware of it. He opened up a new way of worship by which we can use our awe faculty to evolve instead of getting degraded. So now the details of the Shoroshi Puja, as per the scope of today's lecture is concerned, the exact details you will find in the book. We need not relate that. I'm just speaking of the significance of it. What's the real significance? That this type of when we use this awe faculty in a proper way, it helps us to rise in love, not fall in love. We all, in the worldly selves, fall. Really, we fall in the mud with a thud, with the so-called this love is concerned. You'll find how it makes us fall. I don't know how that word has originated, that falling in love. We really fall in love. If we know to use that vikalpa faculty, which finds expression in the form of awe, in the proper way, it can help us to rise in love, not fall in love. And that's the significance of the Shoroshi Puja, which shows that how Ramakrishna is testifying through his life that it is possible by using that vikalpa faculty, finding expression as awe, to use it in such a way that your total personality gets overhauled. You just get transformed into a totally different person, where all the carnality has fallen off, where you see the world from a totally different perspective. You have become, the purity has become your nature. It is not something you have to aspire for. And there is no question of taking false step. With that overhauling of your personality, you have evolved. Now, there is no question of taking false step, because you have become an adept dancer. In the word of Ramakrishna, an adept dancer never has a false step. So see how this wonderful, this idol worship has actually helped this Ramakrishna to reach that tremendous spiritual evolution. That's why whenever anyone is to criticize about this idol worship in front of Swami Vivekananda, he used to say, show me another character like Ramakrishna, and then you come and criticize. Just by these rituals, thus by following the idol worship, then rituals, if you can get a character like Ramakrishna, what more do you want? So it has, so in this life, everything, if you can see from the proper perspective, everything has a wonderful meaning. So now you will understand all these faiths are blind faith. They start as blind, as vikalpa. But when you are motivated with that awe faculty which is inherent in us, and proceed. That motivation helps you to proceed in the spiritual journey. Ultimately, all the ignorance falls off and takes you to the realization. The vikalpa helps you to go to that realization, and that's how vikalpa can be accomplished. I think we tried to understand this faculty with the significance of the day today for which it is there. So with this, we will stop our discussion today.
Namaskar, Swamiji. It was
Namaskar.
another very nice lecture. Thank you.
Namaskar. Namaskar.